Good morning to you all. So, in today's class video, I'm going to teach you guys projectile, and in this video, we also treat some questions, some jam question under projectile. Now, let's continue. If you look at the word very well, projectile, what does it mean? So, a projectile just means a body. A projectile is a body that is launched into space. Projectile is a body that is launched into space, or you can say a projectile is a body that is launched into the air. So, projectile is a body that is launched into space or air and allowed to move on its own under the influence of gravity or air resistance. That is known as a projectile. A projectile is just a body that you launch into the air or space and allowed to move on its own under the influence of gravity or air resistance. Such body is known to be what? A projectile. So that is the meaning of projectile. Projectile is just a body. Yeah, it can be this marker, can be this mic, can be anything, can be any object. Once you throw that object and you allow that object to move on its own, so such object is known as to be a projectile. Okay, so let's continue. There's what we call projectile motion. Projectile motion. There's what we call projectile motion. Now, projectile motion is different from projectile. A projectile is just a body, can be a rocket, can be anything. So a projectile is just a body that is launched into space and allowed to move on its own under gravity. Whereas projectile motion is the path in which a projectile follows. Projectile motion is just the path in which a projectile follows during its journey in space or air. Okay? Now, this is a jam question. Take note. Projectile motion is also known as trajectory. Projectile motion is also known as, or is also called trajectory or parabolic. So take note. Projectile motion is also called trajectory motion or parabolic motion. It's like this. This is the motion of a projectile. So important thing you should note here is that a projectile is just a body that you launch into space or air and allow to move on its own. Whereas projectile motion is just the path in which the projectile follows during its journey. Projectile motion is also called trajectory motion or parabolic motion. Okay, now let's move to the next aspect of the class. Now, if you look at the board very well, you will see 6 different equations. 3 under linear motion, while 3 under vertical motion. Now, there's something I want to tell you guys to take note of. Take note that vertical motion is not a projectile motion. Take note, vertical motion is not a projectile motion. In jam question or in anywhere, you usually see they usually place questions of from vertical motion under projectile motion. Yes, but just take note that vertical motion is not a projectile motion. Do you know why? Now, if you look at vertical motion now, imagine you throw a stone upward. You throw a stone upward, then the stone fall down. This type of motion is a vertical motion, or a mango falls from or a fruit falls from a tree, or an object falls from an height. All those type of motion, they are vertical motion. Now, just take note that vertical motion is not a projectile motion because the path is not parabolic or trajectory. Remember, projectile motions is trajectory motion or parabolic. These are trajectory motion look like, or parabolic. It's like this, or it can also be like this. So take note that vertical motion is not a projectile motion because the path followed is not parabolic or trajectory. Okay, but this does not mean that you should not focus. You should not know what vertical motion is. Now, now let me just differentiate between linear motion for you and vertical motion. If you look at the board very well, you find out that these equations, they are almost the same but with slight difference. Now if you look at this very first one, you find out that the A in under linear motion, the A is known as linear acceleration. Linear motion has to do with motion in straight line, those normal motion, whereas vertical motion has to do with height. Okay, so in linear motion, the acceleration is a linear acceleration, whereas in a vertical motion, the acceleration is acceleration due to gravity. So these equations, they are almost the same, but some of the variables changes. Okay, now what also changes in linear in these places that is x, which is linear distance or displacement. In vertical motion, this distance change to what? Height, because height has to do with vertical. Because height has to do with you know, upward and downward motion, which is vertical motion. Height has to do with what? Vertical. While the distance has to do with linear. Displacement has to do with linear. Okay. So these are the variables that changes. All these equations of motion you see here, all these equations you see here, they are the equations of motion. Okay. Now the difference between linear motion and vertical motion is just the variables. Yes, it's just the variables. And apart from that one, if you notice very well, in this under vertical motion, you will find out that these equations, they usually sign. They usually have plus or minus sign, plus or minus sign, plus or minus sign. Now this is because of what? The acceleration due to gravity. This plus or minus sign, it has to do with the acceleration due to gravity. And take note that acceleration due to gravity, G, can either be positive or what? Negative. So when it's negative, you make use. Okay, before then, take note that this plus or minus, it means that all these equation, they can be either negative, they can be either negative or what, or positive. It can be either negative or positive, depending on the direction of the motion. Okay, depending on the direction of motion. When G is positive, the equation is positive. When G is negative, the equation is what? Is negative. Now, how do you know when G is negative and when G is positive? Now, take note that whenever an object is going up, whenever you throw an object upward, or whenever an object is moving against gravity, whenever an object is moving upward, whenever an object is moving upward, take note that that object is against gravity. Moving upward, the object is against gravity. Therefore, G will be what? Negative, because the object is against gravity. Then, whenever an object is moving downward, whenever an object is moving downward, that is the object is moving in the same direction as G, G will be what? G will be positive. So take note of this. When an object is moving upward against gravity, G is negative, and when an object is falling down, G is positive. Okay? Now, another thing I want you guys to take note of. Another thing I want you guys to take note of is that when an object is thrown vertically upward, when an object is thrown vertically upward, it will get to a particular point. Let's say you throw the object upward. To get to a particular point, the object will stop moving up. It will reach a particular height. That height is known as maximum height. When you throw an object upward, to get to a particular point in air where it will stop, that point or that height is known as maximum height. Now take note that at maximum height, remember in our previous class, I told you guys that V is the final velocity, U is the initial velocity. So at maximum height, V is what? 0. Take note. Whenever you throw an object upward and that object gets to its maximum height, at maximum height, V is equals to 0. Then take note again. Whenever an object is falling down, when that object gets to the ground, when that object gets to the ground, u is what? 0. Okay? So take note, when you throw an object up, like when you throw an object upward and the object gets to maximum height and it stop moving, that at the point in which it gets to this point known as maximum height, the v is was 0. Then when an object is falling down, when the object is falling down, u will be what? 0. Okay? So at maximum height, you throw an object upward. When it gets to the maximum height, the final velocity will be 0. Then when an object is falling down from an height and it finally gets to the ground, the initial velocity will be what? Will be 0. Okay? Now, these are things you need to take note of. Now, maximum height, time of flight, then these are things you need to take note of under vertical motion. Now, and I will first tell you guys the meaning of maximum height. I give you guys the equation, the formula, then I will tell you some instances in which you need to know before you start using the formula. Okay, now what is maximum height? Please, if you have a book and Bible, you can write. Don't mind it, my body is so small, so that is why I cannot write it. Okay, so just you can, if you have a book and pen, jot it down. Okay, now maximum height. What is maximum height? Maximum height, take note, maximum height is the highest vertical maximum height is the highest vertical height reached by a body. The highest vertical height reached by a body. For example, you throw a stone upward to get to a particular height where beyond this height the stone cannot move beyond that height. So that the highest vertical height reached by a body before it falls to the ground, that height is known as maximum height. Okay, so the highest vertical height reached by a body before that body returns to the ground is known as maximum height. Okay, now this is the formula you usually need to use to solve for maximum height, which is h equals to u square over 2g. Okay, so this is the formula used to calculate for maximum height in vertical motion. H is known as maximum height, u is the velocity, while g is the acceleration due to gravity. Time of flight is different from total time of flight. If you can recall, maximum height is the highest vertical height reached by a body. Now, time of flight is different from total time of flight. Now, time of flight is represented by small letter t, whereas total time of flight is represented by capital letter T. Now, let me tell you, please note this, what I'm about to say. Now, where is time of flight? Time of flight is the time it takes a body to reach the maximum height. Time of flight is just, please jot this down, it's just the time it takes a body to reach the maximum height. That is known as what? Time of flight. Then, total time of flight is the time it takes a body to move to the maximum height and fall to the ground. That is known as total time of flight. Okay? Time of flight, which is small letter t, is just the time it takes a body to reach the maximum height, whereas total time of flight is the time it takes a body to reach the maximum height and the time it takes that body to fall to the ground. That is known as what? The total time of flight. Okay? Now, so please take note of what I'm about to say. Time of flight, the formula for time of flight is t equals to u over g. This is the formula for time of flight. Remember, time of flight is different from total time of flight. Whereas total time of flight is t, big letter T, equals to One time of light plus another time of flight. T plus T will give you what? Will give you 2T. Remember, total time of flight is the time it takes a body to reach to get to the maximum height and the time it takes to fall to the ground. That's known as what? Total time of flight. So total time of flight is this first T is the time it takes to get here to the maximum height, while the second T is the time it takes to what? Fall to the ground. Since both of the time are equal, therefore total time of flight will be equals to 2T. T plus C give you 2T. Now let us not stop here. Time of flight, what is the formula for time of flight? This is what U over G. So therefore T will be equals to 2 U over G. T will be equals to what? 2U over G. Remember, time of flight is what? U over G. So therefore, total time of flight is equals to 2U over G, whereas time of flight is equals to U over G. Okay? So that is the difference between time of flight and total time of flight. Okay? When an object is projected from an height, for example, you stand on the roof of your house and you throw a stone up. Let's say this is the ground level and this is the roof of your house, or this is a tower or a platform. When an object is projected from an height or a platform, when an object is projected from an height of a platform, and the time it takes the object to get to the maximum height is not equal to the time it takes that object to fall to the ground. I don't know if you understand. When an object is projected from a platform or from an height, the time it takes that object to get to the maximum height is not equal, or it is not the same as the time it takes the object to fall to the ground. I don't know if you get. This is because the height are not equal. The height are not the same. So therefore, the time it takes for the object to get to the maximum height is not equal to the time it takes from the object to get from the maximum height to the ground. Okay, let's say the time it from the platform the object gets to the maximum, let's say the time is T1, and the time it takes that object from the maximum height to fall to the ground, let's say it's T2. The two time are not equal. Let's say the time it takes the object to from here to get to here, let's say it's 2, and let's say the time it takes the object from here to here to fall from this height to this place, let's say is 4. If you look at the time, they are not equal. So our total time of flight can never be T equals to 2T. And if you understand, it will not be T equals to 2T. Do you know why? Because the time are not equal. When the time are equal, our total time of flight will not be T plus T, which will not be what? T equals to 2T. But in this scenario, our time are not equal. Therefore, our total time of flight will not be equals to 2T. Our total time of flight will equal T1 plus T2. T1 is 2, T2 is 4. Therefore, our total time of flight will now be 6. Okay? So please take note of this. When an object is projected from an height, the time it takes that object to get to the maximum height is not the same as the time it takes the object to fall from the maximum height to the ground. Okay? Now, also take note of this. Take note of this. Now, take note of this. Whenever they ask you in this jam question, they will ask you when an object is projected from an height. Hear what I'm saying. When an object is projected from an height or a tower, they will ask you, okay, let me continue. When an object is projected from a tower or from an height, and that object falls to the ground, they will ask you in JAM, they will ask you to calculate the height of the tower or the height of they'll ask you to calculate for the height of the tower. Okay? So how are you going to do it? Now let me analyze it for you. When an object is projected from an height, to get to the maximum height, abi? So let's take this height to be h. Now, and that object falls to the ground. And let's take this other height to be h, with the capital letter H. If you look at it very well, this height is greater than this. Because if you look at it, this height is greater than this. Now, you know what Jam will tell you? Jam will tell you to calculate for for the height of the tower, which is very easy. Now, let's say for example, let's say this height is 8. For example, let's say this height is 8 and this one is 2. Okay, no, let's say it's 4. Let's say it's 4. Now, what will be the height of the tower? It is very easy. Total height, total height will be equals to the height above the tower. Total height will equals to the height above the tower plus the height of the tower. I don't know if you understand. The total height equals to this h. Okay, let me turn this capital letter H to ht, which means total height. Okay, here will still be h. Why here will be capital letter H? I don't want to confuse you guys. Here is ht, which means the total height. Why this h equals to 4? This is the height above the tower. Then while capital letter H is the height of the tower. Okay, so let's say the total height from maximum height to the ground is 8. Then the height from the above the tower is 4. Now they will ask you, calculate for the height of the tower. It's very easy. Total height is equals to height above the tower plus the height of the tower. Height above the tower plus the height of the tower. Now our total height is what? Is 8. Then the height above the tower is what? 4. Then plus the height of the tower. If you take this one to the next side, it will be 8 minus 4. So the height of the tower will be what? Will be 4. Okay? So yes. So please, these are the categories of question you need to take note of. Okay? Now, in some question, okay, in some question, they will give you the height of the tower. They will give you the height of the tower and they will give you some variables that you will use to calculate for the height above the tower. And then we ask you to calculate for the total height. The question is so easy. Total height is equals to height above, okay, total height is equals to the height above the tower plus the height of the tower. Let me recapitulate what I said. I said in some question, they will give you the height of the tower and they will give you some variables that you will use to calculate for the height above the tower. Let's say, for example, they said a stone was projected from, we will solve the question. For example, they said a stone was projected with a velocity of 2 from the height of a tower. Let's say the velocity is 2 from the height of a tower. Calculate the total height it gets to the ground. It will be so easy. This h will be, remember, h is equals to u square over 2g. So u is 2. 2 square is what? 4. Remember, g is 10. 2 times 10 is 20. So 4 going to 20. If you get your h, add it with the height of the tower, you have your total height. So these are the categories of question you will need to take note of. Now, in summary, from what I said earlier, I felt in this class I talked about what is maximum height. Then I differentiated between time of flight from total time of flight. Now, remember, maximum height is the highest vertical height reached by a body. That's known as what? Maximum height. And I said that the formula is h equals to u square over 2g. Okay? So this is the formula for maximum height. It is the highest vertical height reached by a body. Then I move further to time of flight. I'm just doing summary. Time of flight is the time it takes a body to get to the maximum height. That is known as time of flight. And I told you guys that it is represented by small letter t. Okay? Then total time of flight. I told you guys that total time of flight is the time it takes an object to get to the maximum height and to return to the ground or to fall to the ground. So therefore, total time of flight, and remember I told you guys is represented by capital letter T. Okay? Total time of flight is equals to 2t. That is if the time are equal. Okay? Now, remember, time of flight is equals to u over g. Total time of flight will now be t equals to 2u over g.